Hey, where's the log? Welcome back, anybody. For those of you who are new to this channel, welcome. Hopefully you'll stick around, but if you're smart, you'll bail now while you have the opportunity. But since you're here, why don't you continue watching this, although this is part 2 of the quarter scale problem I have with the LT40 here. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to make some adjustments and everything. But first, I suppose I should step back a moment since I'm out of sequence. I got a lot of response from the video I did, part 1. And the surprising thing is nobody responded by saying, oh yeah, I have a quarter scale and this is my result. It works, it doesn't work, whatever. Most of the responses, I think all of the responses, first of all, that mentioned the quarter scale says, oh, I don't use it. Which I guess to each his own. I do use it, and to me it's very important that when I'm cutting boards, whatever the board thickness is, that every board is the same thickness. That's why we use the simple set up here to do all of this, because it gives me nice results every single time. Except right now, the last board on the mill, as I mentioned before, is about 1/8 of an inch or so thicker than the others, and it's not acceptable. So what I'm going to do is I have a 6x6 that I cut into 2 pieces. I'm going to put the first piece on, and we're going to mill it down and measure the boards. And then I'm going to take the quarter scale off, readjust it, move the alignment pin that's on there, I'll put it back in, and then I'm going to cut the other 6x6 and see what the end result is. So bear with me. It's going to be fun, at least for me, and hopefully it'll be fun for you too. So here we go. Before I get started, I got a funny story for you. And it's a true story. When I move this mill into or out of my shop, the first thing I do before I move it is I take the head and I put it all the way down until the head locking hole is on top of the locking pin so that it doesn't move, and never had an issue with that because I always remember. So the other day I had to move the mill out of the shop, and I hooked up the tractor to the hitch on the mill, and this time, for the first time, the only time, I did not lock the ball on it because I figured I'm only going a short distance, 15, 20 feet, so I don't need to worry about it. So I get the mill almost all the way out of the shop, and guess what happens? The head, the whole carriage and everything, shut up. The whole carriage heads on toward the back, takes the tongue, lifts it off the tractor, and I'm stuck with the thing pointed up in the air for the second time. So I just thought you'd appreciate that. The end. What we have here is the before 6x6, which is actually 5x5.5 or something like that. Anyway, I need to get it squared up and smoothed out because it's rough, it's not straight and everything else. Once I get it all taken care of, I'm going to cut it into using the 4/4 scale, and then we're going to measure each of the boards. I think we're only going to get 3 boards out of it, 2 regular thickness and 1 extra thick board. Then we're going to make the adjustments that we need to. And I've got another board, or another 6x6, 5x5, whatever. And we're going to do the same thing. And then we're going to compare them when we're all done. So I'm going to get the mill started, and let's get going. Okay, that last piece that we cut, that last 5x5, turned out perfect. Every single board was the same. So I'm wondering whether I did something right or wrong. It's almost impossible for me to have done anything wrong, but you never know. So we're going to try this thing all over again. So bear with me. All right. Let's get something started. Okay, that's that. Here's the last piece. All right, what you didn't see was total failure, and yet at the same time, not my fault, somebody else's fault. What I found was everything I cut was exactly the same thickness from the very first board to the very last board, including the one on the bunk. So I did the second unit, which you saw, and I came up with the exact same results, which really puzzles me because that shouldn't happen. So what I did, which you will see momentarily, or you've already seen it, depending on how I edit this thing, is I threw a small 4x4 on there, and I cut that using the 1-inch scale, moving the blade 1 inch each time I made a cut. And guess what, folks? As expected, the first couple of cuts, or the first, I got 3 pieces up. The first 2 cuts gave me what I expected was very close to a 7/8 inch thick board. The last cut, or the last board, came off the mill at the same thickness. So then I realized that what was happening, the reason the 4/4 was right or correct on both counts, and the 1-inch scale was quote unquote correct, is because the entire scale is not calibrated properly. Because the last board from using the 1-inch scale should have been 1 inch thick instead of roughly 7/8 of an inch, which is what it was. So what I'm doing is I am recalibrating the scale system so that the 1-inch scale, if you set it at 2 inches and make a cut, what's on the bunk is 2 inches thick. If you set it at 4, it'll be 4 inches thick, and so on, instead of being off by about 1/8 of an inch too narrow or too thin, as it is right this moment. So we're going to kind of walk you through what I'm doing so you have a better idea of how to calibrate. And the other thing is, since I've got this big panel off for a different video, the walkthrough video, not part of this video, is I can also show the inner workings of the clutch and the brake and everything else, also the simple set, how that works. So here we go.